Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Oxygen for the Soul. This week's Perashat Tazria Messora, are a fascinating look at Judaism's attempt at trying to explain what spirituality is. Instead of what I typically do, which is starting at the beginning, I'm going to start at the end because I believe this one verse at the end of the Parshiot describes the essence of what the Torah wants from us. And the Torah just again goes to the idea of purity and impurity and spends a lot of time talking about the idea of Lashon Hara, the ideas of evil speech, and the idea of a human being or a Jew getting tzarat, a type of what we would call leprosy. It's not leprosy, some kind of skin disease, which is a reflection of spiritual matters, not physical things. And the verse ends like this. It says, V'hizartem et bnei Yisrael. Moshe, you warn the Jewish people mitumatam from their impurity. V'lo yamutu betumatam. And they will not die as a result of their impurity. V'lo yamutu betamam et mishkani asher betocham. Right? If they make impure my tabernacle that is among them, zotorat. This is going to be. There's no way. If they are able to remain pure in a world which is a reflection of my purity, then they will live. However, if they make themselves impure, right, as a result of their impurity, then they will be punished. Now, these seem somewhat harsh, seem somewhat difficult. Let's try to explain, okay? When we know that the creation of the universe itself began with an act of speech, words. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz. God uses words to manifest reality. Words are vibrations. Everything around us is vibrating. Everything around us is moving. Everything around us is alive. This is an expression of speech. And the Pasuk says very clearly, right? If you look up in Bereshit, Pasuk, Perek Bet, Pasuk Zayin, it says, Vayetzer Hashem Elokim et Adam, Afar min ha'adama. God creates man from the dust of the earth. Vayipach ba'apav, and he blows into his nostrils, nishmat chaim. He blows into his nostrils a soul of life. V'hi adam lenefesh chaya. And man became a living being. Rashi said, Unclus, who is a super commentary, says, what is this concept of Adam nefesh chaya? Obviously, if God blew the breath of life in him, he's already considered alive. He says it's the power of speech. That what makes us have a connection to nishmat chaim, the source of the soul of life, is our speech. What we say. Why is that? Why is this the superpower that God endows us with? Right? The power of speech. Now, if you think about it for a little bit, you'll know that speech is everything in Judaism, right? And we see this expressing itself later on by Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech, one of the greatest men who ever lived, wrote a book called Mishleh. And in Mishleh he says, Mavet v'chaim bayad lashon. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Ve'hoveha yochal piryah. And those who love it will eat its fruit. And over there, the Midrash tells us the story you've for sure heard, which I'm not going to go into the details of it, as that Ben Yehoyada, a servant of Shlomo, was asked by King Solomon to get the milk of a lion, a lioness, and he approached this lion every day. He found these lions in a lion's den, and he would throw them a little bit of lamb every day, get closer and closer, and eventually he was able to procure this milk. He was using this milk for a nearby king who was sick, and this lion's milk would have cured his ailment, his sickness. So he eventually gets the milk, and on the way there he gets tired, he falls asleep. I'm doing a very, very fast version of the story just in case you don't know it, because I don't know what you know or what you don't know. And he's sleeping, and all the different parts of his body are arguing as to which part of his body was the most, powerful. And the leg said, it's because of us. We brought us here, we carried, we moved. The arms are no, it's us, we threw. The eyes, we saw. Every part of the body is arguing about which part was the most essential part. And the tongue says, you fools, I am the most powerful. And they started laughing. Well, you can't even see you. You're hidden. You have lips and teeth. You're behind bars. What can you do? He says, I'll show you. And they get there to the king's palace, and he says, I have the cure. And he says, what is it? And he says, it's the the milk of a dog. And they're so upset, and they throw him into jail. They're threatening to kill him. We told us lion milk. Why bring us dog milk? This is a joke. Who are you? And he has a dream again. He says, you see, unless you proclaim me as king, you'll die here together. Proclaim me as king. In each part of the body, basically it says, tongue, you are the king. And he apologizes and he frees them. And that's the end of the story. Powerful, right? The tongue can determine all of our reality. Why? Because our reality is an expression of our speech. How many people do you know that are constantly speaking negatively? They constantly use their words in a negative kind of way. Oh, that guy, he came from nothing, he's a loser, and he climbed the ranks, he pushed everyone out of the way. That's one way of speaking about a guy. Another way of saying is that guy, he came from nothing, he worked so hard, he's so strict, he's so regimented. Wow, I'm so impressed. We could look at any scenario, and depending on the lens that we use, that'll determine our reality, right? So if you have someone who's negative, who's always using Lashon Hara, they're taking the power of godliness that was imbued in each of us, and instead of using it for shalom, for peace, right, we use it for horrible, horrible negative things. And this brings destruction amongst the world. When we use negative speech, we create a world of nega, of pain, of suffering. Or the same otiyot of nega, right? Nega is nun, gimel, ayin. Those same letters, if you rearrange it, is oneg, pleasure. You could look at the world and see the whole world as an obstacle or opportunity. Your choice. You choose how you want to experience this reality, right? This is maybe this helps us understand a little bit of what the Gemara says in Megillah. The Gemara in Megillah says that if you want to understand, no one can speak Lashon Hara like Haman Harasha. Why? Haman tells Achashverosh, let's destroy all the Jewish people, and Achashverosh says, I'm afraid of their God, right? He's going to do what he did to Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar and Sanherib. He destroyed all of them because they mistreated the Jewish people. So Haman says to them, nah. He says these people they're dormant in their observance. These people are dormant. They're not really involved in their commandments anymore. They're already assimilated. So Achashverosh says, well, what about their rabbis? And Haman says they are a single people, right? And the rabbis are like the rest of them. They are all scattered and separated. They have lost their inner cohesion. There's nothing unique about the Jewish people. They're lost. This is a perception, right? And this one conversation with Achashverosh and with Haman, it wasn't that it was this is where Achashverosh got the idea. He wanted to destroy the Jewish people, no problem. He didn't like the Jews. He was afraid of them. But Haman cools him down. And the Midrash tells us that this conversation goes up to Shemaim. And it says, look at the Jewish people, it's true. They're separate, they're scattered, they're useless people, they're dormant, they're not involved in mitzvot, they've lost their way. Let's create a Gezar Din against them. Let's create something that destroys the people. This is all words, word speech. What happens? The Jewish people come together, they fast, they pray, and we annul the decree. Right? But this gossip of Haman reverberates through the universe, and it almost causes tremendous amount of destruction for our people. Right? Think about that for a second. A couple of conversations. Right? Now, if you and I are living in a society where words don't matter, second, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh bidvaro. L'chaim. I wish it wasn't just water. I could use a drink, a real one. But anyway, so you have a world that is so influenced by these spin doctors, these people in the media selling, telling, so on and so forth. And it's broken because there are no consequences. Remember, we are no longer on the madrega. We're not on the level where we can handle being punished for Lashon Hara. It's still there, but it's not instant. Imagine living in a world where the second you said something negatively, there's automatically, boom, a way of feeling some sense of correction built into the system, a way of fixing the situation that you find yourself in. This was the world that God created for us, a world where there's automatic feedback. You know right away where you're at, what you're doing. You could respond right away. Oh, you know what? I misspoke. But we don't do that anymore. As parents, we're not careful about how we speak. We're not careful about how our children speak. And all we've created is a world of poor speech, where a man can say he's no longer a man and he's a woman, and a woman can say that he's a man. These are crazy, crazy times where words don't matter anymore. Don't call me a he, call me a they, call me a them, call me a this, a jur. It's crazy. When words don't mean anything, there are no boundaries. But look what it says over here. It says, V'hizartem et bnei Yisrael mitumatam. What does the word v'hizartem mean? Rashi says the word v'hizartem, he says, en nezira ela prisha. The term nezira, okay, from the word nezer, the root of hizartem, means nothing but setting apart. Ki nozru achor, right? They separate themselves in the rear. Ki nazir echav. Similarly, as the word nazir, they once separated from his brothers. The way of which we're able to go ahead and create pure speech is creating boundaries for ourselves. Separate. How do you speak? Are you using your mouth for lashon kodesh? Are you using it for holy things? Or are you using it for negative things? This is going to define your reality. This will determine our mitziyut. You want v'shechanti betocham. You want a world where God is going to build et mishkani asher betocham, my sanctuary inside of them. How do you get there? The opening is the mouth. Right? Every single one of our orifices in our face, they have one way of closing. I can close my eyes, I got my eyelids. I can close my nose. I can take my earlobe, put it in my ear, close it. My teeth, close my mouth. All right? My lips. You have two gates to your mouth. Because Hashem wants us to think twice before we speak. He wants us to constantly be aware that He created a reality where everything about the mouth is key. I was speaking to a guy who's got a daughter who's going through a hardship right now. And he's like, she's angry at God. So I said to him, okay, well, what are you doing to pray for her? Are you praying for her? He's like, why should I pray for her? It's not my problem, it's her problem. I started laughing. I'm like, no, it's your problem. He doesn't realize that he's saying, why should I pray? His daughter's going to say, why should I pray? How we speak impacts our reality, our family, our neighborhood, our community, our synagogue. What we do with our words, it matters. The fact that I spend time being careful, being sensitive about how I use my words. This is what the Parasha wants from us. Hashem wants to live a life of oneg. But if my speech is negative, it's just nega. Everything's a problem. It's just pain. And that's not a world that you and I want to be creating for ourselves. You know why the world is so broken today? Because words don't matter. You know why words don't matter? There's no God. There's no God. Who cares? I do whatever I want to do. In a world where I can do whatever I want to do, there's no humility. And all that happens is a world of narcissism. It's all about me. And it's a world about me that I will only see my world, I will only see reality as an expression of my interests. And therefore, if you're doing something that doesn't benefit me, it's got to be bad. You have to know good. But in a world, my friends, where we see people, every person is here as an opportunity to give. The Mishnah says, the world stands on these three things. What does that mean, these three things? Torah, avodah, and gimil chasadim. What does the word Torah mean? It comes to the word hora'ah. Torah is a guidebook that allows me to create a vision of what the perfect world looks like. Not a world where I'm free to do whatever I want, because that's not a healthy world. A world where I can do whatever I want is destructive. A world that has boundaries, that has rules. You want to play a game, any board game? Simple. You need to have rules. The Torah is the rule book to having a meaningful life. Okay, so first I have Torah. Torah, avodah, ugmil chasadim. These are the three pillars that hold the world. What's avodah? Avodah is tefillah, prayer. What is prayer really? Prayer is about me, caring about myself. Who am I? Where am I going? What am I doing? I'm missing these things. Hashem, help me become bigger, better, greater. And that's not where it ends. Like, that's where it should end, right? Okay, great. You have the Torah, you have avodah, that's it, good. Yofi tofi, they say. Clap your hands, todah la'el, I got what I got to do, and that's it. No, that's not true. The next step of the evolution of a human being isn't just to worry about his chisronot, his lackings, but what's the next step? Gemilut chasadim. How are you helping the world around you? How are you helping other people? Well, you're not going to get there and think in a meaningful way about others if you can't even speak about the mission. Tefillah is the exercise in learning how to speak about the things that are chisaron, the lackings. Your lackings will open you up to other people's lackings. But the goal is to make the world a better place. Judaism doesn't want us to live in some monastery on top of a mountain somewhere alone. That's not what the Torah wants. Torah wants us to be individuals that are strong, engaged in society, building humanity, caring for the people that don't have, providing, building, thinking, being aware. But if a father doesn't even see that he has his own responsibility to his daughter, that comes from negative speech. That comes from not seeing the world in a world of oneg. It's a world of neg. Everything is pain. No, it's me, not me, it's her. No, chas v'shalom. Your kid is experiencing something, a difficulty. You know how many people today are shidduchim? They can't find their right person. They're dating. They can't. Well, as parents, what are we doing to pray for our children? Are we crying out to Hashem, help my kids? Because if you're not going to cry for it, your kids are not going to cry for it. If you're not going to articulate this is important, your kids won't know it's important. And if you don't have children, what about your friends? Are you sensitive to the chesronot of your friends? Fine, you don't have shidduch. Well, your friends don't have shidduch. Are you praying for those people? There's a story that someone sent me yesterday. I'm going to end with this idea that a rabbi went to a famous bigger rabbi, a rabbi in a school, and he says to the rabbi, listen, there's a kid in my class, he's causing trouble. He talks, he tells bad jokes, he's a distraction. I want to throw him out, but before I do, I want to come to you and ask you for eitzah. So he says, okay. He's like, tell me about the kid. He tells him a little bit. He's like, what about his parents? What do you know about the father, the siblings? He's like, the rabbi's like, I don't know. The teacher says, I don't know. So he says, okay, well, what's the mother's name? So this teacher says to the bigger rabbi, he says, well, I don't know the mother's name. He's like, you don't know the mother's name? And you want to throw this kid out? You meaning like you want to throw this kid out and you haven't prayed for him yet? You haven't prayed for this boy and you want to throw him out of your class? What kind of a rabbi, what kind of a teacher are you? Who are you? How can you evaluate someone if you haven't asked for help? It's dibur. Dibur is davar. Words create things. This time of the year, from Pesach until Shavuot, is the longest holiday. It's called the Omer. And every single day we bring an Omer offering. Last night was the 14th day of Omer. Okay? We're counting until 49 days. Why? Till Shavuot. What's on Shavuot? Shavuot was us receiving the Torah. Pesach was us leaving Mitzrayim, leaving our slavery behind. And now is Avodah. Now is the time where we're working through what it means to be a normal, healthy human being. How do I elevate myself into something more? How do I leave my animal? The barley offering, Omer, is barley, and that was offered on the temple every single day for 49 days because it's a reminder of our animal self. On Shavuot, we no longer bring the Omer. Instead, what do we bring? We bring wheat, because wheat is consumed by humans. And therefore, it takes 49 days of working on a process. The first time of the year we go up to Yerushalayim is called Ola LaRegel, the Regel. And the Regel happens on Pesach. And the word Regel means foot. The feet carry us. But the same word Regel comes from the word Hergel, which means habits. And therefore, we're carrying ourselves up on Pesach to deal with our habits. What's another word for Regel? Meragel, Meraglim, the spies. What do? They search. It is the time where we're supposed to use our power of searching within our habits to ask ourselves, are these habits lower habits that are keeping me to my lowest self, or are these habits that need to be destroyed, and I need to create new habits, positive habits, that allow me to become a bigger, better, greater version of myself. So this is the time. Between now, Shavuot, Sukkot is the time of the building. Marie, you have a question? No. Okay.
Children.
Oh, you have kids in the background. Oh,
They have to mute.
okay. I don't hear it now. Hear it. I'm going to mute everybody right now. Mute everybody. Okay. So you have a reality where the regel is a hergel, our habit. It's our miragel. It's to search for what? To become better, greater human beings. Where do you start? With the mouth. The mouth is the opening that allows God in. It's the bakasha. It's the request. It's our desire to want to become something bigger, better, greater. That's what this parasha is. We no longer have the litmus test. What happens when you get tzaras? Who do you go to? You go to the Kohen. Why? Who is the Kohen? The Kohen was the priest. He was the teacher. Today, you and I don't have a priest. I don't have a Kohen. But what do we have? Hopefully, you have a good rabbi, you have a mentor, you have someone you could learn from. Are you meeting with your spiritual mentor that's helping guide you to become a bigger, better, greater human being? If the answer is no, you're missing out on this opportunity of v'shachanti b'docham, of allowing God to enter into your body. You're missing out on the opportunity of living in a world where you could live a world of oneg versus nega. That's your choice. Your choice. You could live like Haman and see everything negative, or you could recognize that you have a nefesh chaya, that God put inside of you, a spirit, a power of speech that you can use to create reality. Dibur comes from the word davar. Our words create things. I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. It should be a Shabbat of simcha, of bracha, but more importantly, a Shabbat where you recognize your tselem elukim, your power, your superpower, that your words actually do have meaning. And that instead of thinking about them negatively, work on the positive speech, and through this action of working positively on yourself, what you're really doing is you're drawing Hashem into this world, bringing a world of shalom, of peace, a world of harmony, and a world of bracha. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for listening.